my goal in the next 10 slides is to convince you that the MindLogger software platform that we've been developing at the Child Mind Institute, a nonprofit in Manhattan, can support a wide range of clinical and research applications, including EEG type experiments. So you can use this MindLogger to create, share, administer, and use what we call applets on phones and in web browsers, where an applet can be a small application like a questionnaire or a cognitive task, and this is what I'll be describing in the next slides. So next. So as Diego and others were mentioning, you can do experiments with EEG indoors or outdoors. I want to create a kind of stark dichotomy between stationary or in-lab assessments versus mobile or at-home assessments for digital phenotyping. And so on the left, you see examples of stationary or in-lab assessments, which can include, of course, EEG and different forms of magnetic resonance imaging, biospecimens like blood draw, or paper pencil instruments, standard surveys or questionnaires that are used in psychology, psychiatry, biology, and in the lab. The problems with stationary in-lab assessment, of course, is that they are usually expensive, they're inconvenient, and you get sparse data sampling in terms of temporal frequency. In the middle, you'll see some wearable devices, including dry electrode EEG, as an example of what could be mobile or at home. And these can include phone apps or different types of wearable devices. And with these, you can get objective measures. It can be far more convenient to collect data anytime and anywhere, and it's easier to recruit, and you can get frequent or even continuous acquisition of data. Next, please. So the reason that we create these applets or small activities within MindLogger as opposed to separate apps is to provide a single foundation to support a range of configurable applications without having to rebuild the privacy, security, data collection, and presentation capabilities for each one. So this is very important for rapid development. And so for a given applet, you can play any one of several roles that you see in the schematic diagram, or you can have others play the roles shown in this diagram. So for example, on the left, an editor can create and edit applets. In the middle, users can use those applets. So a coordinator or manager can administer it to a large group of participants in a study or patients in a clinic, or now we can accommodate citizen science, so you can have anonymous public links for people to fill in data. And then on the right, you have reviewers who can have select access to particular users' data. Okay, next slide, please. So there are many ways we can build each screen of an applet. We can display all kinds of graphics and play audio or video on the top. We can collect data in numerous ways as well, such as it's a little hard to read on the screen, but you can use checkboxes, slider bars, text data entry, camera, video, microphone. You can draw on a canvas or in an image. You have a GPS button, and we're doing specialized cognitive tasks as well. And also you can configure controls to show the user a progress bar, set a delay or timer to restrict when and for how long a user can respond to a question, as well as permit a user to go back to previous screens or skip ahead. And on the right, you can see that depending on how you set up each screen, they can look and function very differently from one another. So next, please. So MindLogger can support a wide range of applications, given all these features I showed in the previous slide, including applets that inform users about how to manage, for example, their mental health, since that's the primary area of interest of the Child Mind Institute. You can create screeners to triage users for assessment or inclusion in a study, assessment applets to collect data for clinical intervention or research purposes, intervention applets as part of therapy or test a hypothesis in an experiment, or tracking applets to monitor outcomes or feedback or follow-up to improve therapy or interpret data. And all the data that you would extract from any such applets can go into open source data repositories. They can be piped into analysis pipelines, or in our case, they can also go into medical records. Next, please. So I'm going to show a few examples of such applets that we've created. We've created a variety of these screener applets for interviews or for screening patients. And this is an example of a very simple one, a pediatric screener for use in a pediatric office, where a general practitioner may not have the knowledge to be able to flag a patient in case they need to be referred to a specialist. So we can make these applets attractive and appealing with relevant images and emojis, and we can quickly and easily collect data from them in a format that's amenable to the environment in which it is applied, in this case a pediatric clinic. Next, please. So we have many psychiatric instruments that we use at the Child Mind Institute, and so this is just an example showing that we've built dozens of these into MindLogger in a single applet, ranging from WHO's assessments to, well, you name it, there are a lot in there. And so we don't only collect the data, we can score the data with subscale scores and provide analyzed output for people to view in a dashboard. And we also have notifications so that you can be notified to fill out assessments at particular times. And I'll give an example of that in the next slide. So here, a special class of assessments are what we call ecological momentary assessments for experiential sampling, where a user receives notifications through the day and responds to questions about their daily life experiences and behaviors. In the case of one applet that we've built, this NIMH EMA applet, that's launched as a part of an ongoing study with 10,000 children and adolescents, some of the screens provide information while others are used for assessment or even intervention. And you can see on the rightmost screen capture, it's a reminder to wear your actigraphy wearable device, which is tracking activity and indirectly capturing sleep and maybe circadian rhythm data. Next, please. And another class of assessments are cognitive assessments. We're currently building a battery of cognitive tasks that includes, for those who are familiar with cognitive tasks, the flanker task, trails A/B, critical stability, and a variety of handwriting and drawing tasks where you copy things from memory or you try and trace very carefully, and fluctuations in one's movements can suggest underlying conditions. We can also do natural scene viewing by presenting videos and collect video and voice data as well as different kinds of images. And we are looking at voice analysis, which includes low-level voice features as well as transcription and parsing of data. Okay, next please. This is the last example that I'd like to describe, and it's one that I'm most excited about because it has some degree of assessment as well as intervention in the form of shaping behaviors or behavioral modification. So this is just showing you a mock-up of the visualization of some of the data that's coming in that's going to be incorporated in the applet itself. But suffice to say that we've been drawing from an incredible resource that we've been building for the last 4 years, a mental health database with guides and recommendations. So while you're using this app, a MindLogger app with applets that you've created or edited from what other people have created, you'll have the opportunity to respond to some questions that have been given to you, and you'll have customized, tailored feedback, recommendations for what you should do, whom you should see, and so on and so forth. And on our roadmap, we're also going to be building in Bluetooth connectivity. So we want this app to be able to connect to different peripheral wearable devices. Some are customized devices we build, but you can imagine the future connecting with EEG and other hardware. Next, please. And so lastly, I just want to mention, if it isn't obvious, this is the result of a lot of people's work. So I just wanted to thank the team of informatics and content developers, as well as software developers and user experience experts that I work with. Thank you very much.